Morning, welcome back to the shop. This whole video is going to be shot in 6 times speed. I'm going to see if I can't get some background music to fit in behind here. But going through and making a straight razor based off of another video from a channel I follow called Skill Tree. He makes a very similar design and everything. I just go through about it a little bit differently. And there's a few things that I missed in here that you'll probably catch on, and I'll really just point them out when I get to them. But I hope you enjoy. I go through here and I clean up the steel that I'm using a little bit. There's the first one that I actually made, which I actually used it and it turned out pretty good. But I just went through, used it as kind of a guide and a template, because with it I kind of went through and just hit everything and made little adjustments as I went along and figured out how it felt in my hand and everything like that, and what I liked and what felt better, what didn't feel real good. Most of this work is actually done with the angle grinder. It's what I had. I don't actually have a forge and an anvil that I can work off of, but going through doing it this way actually worked out pretty good once I figured out what I was doing with the angle grinder. Going in and refining the profile and everything with the files. This actually didn't take me near as long as I thought it was going to. The actual hand sanding part of it, which I don't think I actually put any of that in the video because I ended up having to go in and sand and then trying to do the edge and the blade and everything, and then going back in and sanding again, and yeah, it just ended up being a giant pain in the butt trying to remember to film everything and go through and do everything again. So yeah, didn't put any of the actual hand sanding in here, but the file work actually went, with a good set of files, it actually went fairly quickly for what I thought it was going to, the way I thought it was originally going to go anyway. Found when I was going through here that some of those sharp corners and burrs and everything that were there didn't really feel too good, especially when they stuck into my fingers. So took the files, went in, just hit it at an angle all along the edges, and then actually went in afterwards and did from using some 60 grit, 80 grit, and going up through a few to sand the whole blade. Here I'm actually putting in a notch at the end. It's actually called a Spanish tip, and I thought it looked cool as well, so that's why I actually filed it in there and left it that way. And it was easy, just hit it with the round edge of the file right there in the middle, started it with the chainsaw file, and then just hit it with the round edge file, and went through that way. And actually, these files were just eating through the steel, so had no problem whatsoever in going through and doing any of the defining or all of that. Over to the angle grinder, I did clean it up a little bit with the wire brush first. Used a Sharpie to mark my edge where I was going to, and then the calipers to get it down to see where the halfway point in the blade was. Marked it with the calipers, and you really can't see it there, but then just work to that line on the grinder, and in between passes you'll see me step away and come back in between the passes. This is checking everything, as well as I've got a cup of water over just right there to the side out a camera view, to where I could just make a turn, dunk it in there just to keep the steel cooled down while I was working on it. So that way I didn't have to worry about trying to find a pair of gloves and maybe accidentally getting them caught in the friggin' grinding wheel, which would not have been good for me. Getting this edge down to the shape that I wanted, just trying to get the correct bevel in it and using all that, took me a little bit longer, and of course I'd work on it and get it to where I thought I'd want it, and then I'd look at it for a little bit and figure out where the high points were and go back and hit it again, and then go back and hit it again. And this probably took me the longest out of anything on this project, was just trying to get that bevel right, trying to get the edge profile how I wanted it, and the actual blade itself, getting it down to, because I went in and hand sanded it and then decided when I went to try and start sharpening it that I didn't want it that way and wanted it to be something a little bit different, and then went in and got it done. But just having to stop and go back and stop and go back and stop and go back and getting it fine-tuned into where I wanted it took me probably the longest part of this project. Alright, moving over to the handle. This is actually a piece of live oak that was sent to me by one of my friends I went to high school with, he actually runs his own little wood shop and woodworking down in Georgia. I'll put a link to him down in the description. Check him out. He does some pretty good stuff. But he sent me a few pieces, like the main one. The first one that I actually did with a maple burl that was also in this box that he sent up. But yeah, you can see there what happened to the one that I tried to do. The other one I tried to do out of the maple burl, because it ended up splitting on me. And then there I noticed a bad spot in that piece of live oak, so I needed to use the other side from the side I originally marked. And there was just showing why. But got it using my scroll saw, get it all cut out the shape, and then split that in half, running it down to the actual total thickness that I wanted. Then I went back in here and marked it out. Figured out how wide it was, marked it halfway, and then ran it down again most of the way through just to get it just to get the notch in the middle where the blade's actually going to sit. Alright guys, went over to my drill press, drilled me a pilot hole in this thing, then went through with the actual nail that was that I was going to use as the rivet, just to get it to where, because using that nail it actually made a hole just big enough for it. Then took it over to my bench vise and mushroomed off the one side using a old hammer that I broke the handle on a while ago, haven't replaced yet. Then just cut the nail off, mushroomed over the other side and to where it all fit up tight, and then that was pretty much it, and it was done. But as usual, if there's something you'd like to see me do in the future, please drop it down in the comments below. And if there's anything that I'm doing wrong, feel free to leave it down there too. Please like and subscribe on this video if you would, and other than that, I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time.